Here's a funny little story for a Friday. Hilarious story, actually. The actress Mila Kunis, you might know her from the movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall. You might remember her from that 70s show or maybe stuff she's acted in more recently. I don't know what she's been doing. You also might recognize her more recently if you watch TV from Jim Beam commercials. Jim Beam is quite frankly a mediocre bourbon whiskey. I don't know too many people that would disagree with me on that, but okay. They hired Mila Kunis to do ads for them. And some of the ads are actually kind of clever and funny. And it turns out that Mila Kunis is also a big progressive. She was recently on the Conan O'Brien late night talk show. And she said to Conan on his show that she doesn't like Vice President Mike Pence's politics. So that she's been, I guess, kind of protesting. She's been resisting Mike Pence, expressing her disgust, I think is a better word, a better way to say it, by making monthly donations to the family planning organization known as Planned Parenthood in Mike Pence's name. Right? So she makes the donation, but in Pence's name to Planned Parenthood. And she said to Conan, I disagreed with some of the stuff that Mike Pence was doing and trying to do. And so, as a reminder that there are women out here in the world that may or may not agree with his platform, I put him on a list of recurring donations that are made in his name to Planned Parenthood. People are now boycotting Jim Beam because of the donations that Mila Kunis makes to Planned Parenthood in Mike Pence's name. The anti-choicers on Twitter are apoplectic, trying to shame Jim Beam into dropping Mila Kunis as a spokesperson, threatening to or claiming that they're boycotting Jim Beam until they fire Mila Kunis. So far, Jim Beam, at least as of a few hours ago, Jim Beam has not commented about the controversy. I never buy Jim Beam. I never drink Jim Beam, but if Jim Beam did comment and defend Mila Kunis, I might be inclined to go out and grab a couple bottles of Jim Beam and keep it in my bar, just as a sort of show of solidarity. And here's the funniest part of the entire story. Some of the boycotters, I guess in an effort to be useful, are suggesting some alternatives to Jim Beam in order to make the boycott easier, right? They are trying to make it so that if you really like Jim Beam and you're worried if I boycott Jim Beam, what am I going to drink? They're saying, hey, here's some alternatives. You can get Booker's, you can get Knob Creek or Basil Hayden, a bunch of them. And it turns out that a lot of the recommendations as replacements for Jim Beam are made by the same parent company that makes Jim Beam. How great is that? You go through all the trouble of boycotting and loudly expressing your disdain for Jim Beam over a political disagreement, and the recommendations you make for people who might want to partake are recommendations that put money into the exact same parent company. I love it. Are you boycotting Jim Beam? Let me know. I'm on Twitter at @dpakman. The show is on Twitter at David Pakman Show, and we have a tremendous program for you today.